Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is Charan. In this video tutorial, I will explain using Bootstrap Modal Popup how to insert records into a database in ASP.NET Core Blazor application. Now here we got the final output. Click Popup Insert. It will redirect to the new Blazor component, which is the EMP insert. Click Add New Record. See, it's open a new pop-up window model. Let's enter new employee details, Charan at gmail.com 5000. Now before insert this Charan details, the employee Charan details, let's check in our database table again, execute. Right now this employee table contains 0 rows. Let's insert employee. See, the record has been inserted successfully. Let's check in our database table, execute. So here we got the Charan details. If you are a first time visitor to my channel, please subscribe to get the latest updates. Before writing the coding part, first we'll create a new table in SQL Server Management Studio. I just logged into my SQL Server Management Studio. Let me expand this root folder as well as the databases folder. If you notice in this databases folder, there is Charan user database. I want to create a new table in this database. Before that, let me expand this database folder. Let me expand these tables also. So now we'll create one new table called employee. Select the Charan database, right click the mouse, new query. So now let's create a table. Create table. The table name is employee. Let's give some columns here. EMP ID, integer type, not null. Primary key, I'm adding the identity column. After that, I'm adding EMP name and varchar 150, the size of the column, and email and varchar 150, and the last one I'm adding salary and integer type. Just for the demo purpose, I'm adding only few columns in this table. So now it's time to create a table. Let's execute this statement. And here we got a message, commands completed successfully. Let's refresh this tables folder. Right click the mouse, click refresh. So here we got the employee table. Let's browse this table. Select the employee table, right click the mouse, select top 1000 rows. And here we got the results of this employee table. Right now this table contains 0 rows. Now my aim is I want to insert some records into this table in ASP.NET Core Blazor application using Bootstrap Popup model. For this video tutorial, I'm creating a new project. I'm selecting Blazor app, click next. Let's give the project name is Modal Popup insert record is my project name, and I want to save this project. I want to save this project in Core Blazor folder, which is in the D drive. Let's create. After that, let's select this template Blazor server app, click create, and here the project has been created successfully. Let me close this default window. First, when we want to dealing with a particular database, we require the necessary database packages. Here we are using the SQL Server with Entity Framework Core in ASP.NET Core application. So first let's install the necessary packages. Before that, notice in the project there is a dependencies folder. Let me expand this folder. If you notice in this dependencies folder, there is no any packages folder. So let's add the new packages. Right click the project name, go to manage Nudget packages, select browse and search for Microsoft.Entity Framework. And here we got the results. I'm selecting this Microsoft.Entity Framework core, click install, click OK. Let's accept the license. And notice here we got a green button here, which means this package is installed successfully. And also notice in the project, in the dependencies folder, this packages folder is added. Let me expand this packages folder. See here, the Microsoft.entity framework code is installed successfully. After that, we require some more packages to install, which is this one, Microsoft Entity Framework Code.sql Server. So let's select that one, click install, click OK. Let's accept the license. And this SQL Server is also installed successfully. And the last one, I'm selecting the Entity Framework Code Tools, click install, OK, accept the license. And here all the 3 packages which we have installed just right now is installed successfully. Let me minimize this packages folder and the dependencies also. Now let's close this nudget package window. Which we don't require anymore. Now before implementing the coding part in this project, first we'll run this application, we'll check the basic output, how it looks at designing part on the browser. So let's run this application. And here we got the default output of our application, which contains this is a new layout, and here this is a Razor component. Hello world is a Razor component. Now my aim is I want to create one new navigation link in this layout. When a user clicks that navigation link, I want to open a new Razor component. So first let's create that one. Switch back over to the coding part. Let's stop debugging. Now when we want to create a new navigation link in the layout menu, in the project, notice in the shared folder, expand that one. The second option, nav menu.razor, open that one. And here you can find those navigation links. So let's create one more list item, copy that one and paste here. Let's delete this fetch data and write popup insert. And this one I'm adding popup. The href name is. Now we require the Razor component. That Razor component I'm adding in this pages folder. Select the pages folder, right click the mouse, add, and I'm selecting the Razor component. The Razor component name is emp insert. Click add. And here we got our emp insert Razor component. Now we need to give link between this Razor component. So let's copy this href popup menu name, and in the Razor component, emp Razor component, I'm adding at page directory between double quotes / let's paste that popup. That's it. Now we'll check the output. Is it working or not? And here we got our new output. Notice the popup insert the new navigation link here. Let's click that one. See here, it's redirecting to the emp insert, which is our popup Razor component. Now my aim is I will add one button control. When a user clicks the button control, it's pop-up. It's open the modal pop-up, bootstrap modal pop-up, where user can insert values from that modal pop-up and save those values into this employee table. So first let's close this one, coding part. Now we'll create one class in this data folder. So select the data folder, right click the mouse, add, go to class, and let's give the class name is the emp class. And here we got our emp class. Now in this emp class contains only the properties, which is simply Poco class. So let's add the properties. Before that we have to add the key, because we are using auto generate column emp id key. And also when we add key method, we require this using system.componentModel.data notions. After that, let's prop double tap, which will create the property. First one in the integer type, emp id. Second property, which is a string, emp name, prop double tap. This one is a string. I think this is email. This is the email. Let's copy this one and paste here. And the last property we require the salary, which is the integer type. I'm adding the salary. So after creating the properties in this emp class, now we require the db context class to connect my database. So in the same data folder, right click the mouse, add, let's add the class here, and the class name is application db context, and here we got our application db context class. Now in this application db context class, I want to inherit the db context class. So let's inherit. When we want to inherit, we need to prefix with colon, then db context. The db context class belongs to entity framework core class. So let's import the Microsoft.entity framework core. Now we get the db context class. After that, let's create the constructor ctor double tab, which will create the constructor. In this constructor, I am adding application and db context options. In these options, I am adding my class name, which is the application db context. After that, options colon base options. Now here I am adding one more property for the table name. Prop double tab. The data type is a db set. In this db set, the entities we are getting from this emp class, from this model class. So let's add the emp class. After adding emp class, now here the property name is very important. The property name must be our employee table name. Copy that one and paste here. That's it. Now the next step, we'll add our connection string. So to get the proper connection string, open Server Explorer. Notice in the Server Explorer there is a data connections. Select that one, right click the mouse, add connection, and the server name is MySQL server name is this one, desktop pbudeon. I'm adding that one, desktop hyphen pbudeon. After adding my server name, I'm getting all the databases which contains in this server. So our database is Charan. I have selected that one, then click test connection. It succeeded. Click OK, click OK. And here the Charan database is added successfully inside this data connections folder. And also notice here we require the properties. So right click the mouse, go to properties. In the properties, notice the connection string, there is a data source. Let's copy that one, Ctrl C. Now I'm pasting this data source in our project. Notice the app settings.json file, open that one. In this JSON file, I'm creating one connection strings. C is capital here, connection strings, colon, curly brackets. I'm adding comma here because it's a JSON file. Now here I'm adding my connection string name is my connection colon. Now between these double quotes, I'm adding the data source. That's it. After adding the connection string in this app settings.json file, next let's open the startup.cs file. We need to add this our connection string service in this startup.cs file. So for that, come to the bottom, in the configure service iService collection method, I am adding services dot add db context. In this add db context, I am adding application db context class name, and after that options dot use SQL server. The use SQL server is belongs to Microsoft.entity namespace using Microsoft.entity framework core. Then we require configuration dot get connection string between double quotes. I am adding now between these double quotes I am adding my connection string name. My connection string name is my connection. Copy that one and paste between these double quotes. Let's add the semicolon at the end of this service. That's it. After adding this add db context service, and now in Blazor applications, when we want to implement the functionality, we require the services. So let's add one new folder called services. Select the application name, right click the mouse, add a new folder. The folder name is a services. Now in the services folder, I am adding one new class. Right click the mouse, add, click class, and the class name is emp service. Enter. And here we got our emp service. Now in this service class, let's import the necessary packages using I want to add the application db context class and emp class. So both these classes I have created in this data folder. So modal popup dot data folder. After that, we require a property called protected read only application db context. Let's create the object db context. Then we'll create a constructors ctor. Now in this constructor, I am adding application db context underscore db. Underscore db context is equals to underscore db. I am adding these variable objects here. Then now in this service, I am creating a new function. That function contains the actual entity framework code logic to insert records. So here I am adding public boolean property insert record. Insert rec is a function name. In this function, I am adding the t type, the values we are getting from this properties emp class. So let's call this emp class ec. Here I am adding underscore db context dot. I am adding my table name, which is the employee dot add method. Inside this add method, I am adding ec, the object name. After adding the values, I want to save db context dot with save changes method. Then this function return true. That's it. It's a very two-line steps to insert records. Now open emp insert.razor. Now in this razor component, I am adding we need to install the necessary classes here using this is the using. I require the data folder name which contains this emp class and application db context. So modal popup underscore insert data, and also we require the services also using modal popup dot services. Now the next step is we need to add the services emp service also at inherits. I am inheriting the emp service with owning component base. Inside this component base, I have to add this t service, which is my colon TMP service. Now after that, I'm adding one simple button control on this Blazor component. Button. In this button, I'm adding the class call. Here I'm adding the bootstrap classes. Button, doc. The button name is add new record. Now after adding this button element, now let's check the output, how it looks. Thus this Blazor component, run this application. Click pop-up insert. So here we got a new button control, add new record. Now when a user clicks this record, new button control, I want to open a new pop-up window where the user can prompt with the new employee details. So the user can insert new records. So switch over to the coding part again and stop debugging. I want to open the modal pop-up, which is a bootstrap modal pop-up. So let's open getbootstrap.com. Getbootstrap.com. Getbootstrap.com is an official website of the Bootstrap. We don't require any license. It's a free open source. So get started. I'm using the version 4.5. Now here search for modal, enter. You don't have any models here. Components. In the components, we got model here. And here we got our modal page, which contains the different varieties of modal pop-ups. Below we got some examples here. So I'm using very simple modal pop-up, which is this one. You can use these ones also, but I'm using very simple one. Copy this one and paste here. So now when a user clicks this add new record button control, I want to open this pop-up modal. So what I'm doing here, we require one function, small function here. Now here in this code, I'm adding one boolean type, boolean pop-up. So boolean type is true or false. So first I'm adding false, then I'm creating a void show pop-up method. Here I'm adding pop-up is equals to true, and the second method for close pop-up, which is false. So true means it's visible and false means it will hide. Now let's add this show pop-up method, copy that one. In the button control, at on click is equals to, between double quotes I'm adding this show pop-up. We don't require any parentheses here. Show pop-up. After that, let's add here the div type. I'm adding some more properties called role is equals to dialog, and the second one, and the next property I'm adding the style property, display block colon. Now when a user clicks this button control, I want to open this modal pop-up. So here I'm adding one if condition, if pop-up, the condition is at if pop-up, I'm closing this curly bracket at the end of this div control. Now let's check the output. We check this modal pop-up is opening or not when the user clicks this button control. Pop-up insert. Let's click the add new record. So here we got the modal title is opening, and if you notice, when you click close, it's not closing, and here also it's not closing because we have not added. Let's close this one first. This close pop-up function here, this is the close button. At on click is equals to, I'm adding close pop-up. Now here I don't require this close button also. Now we'll check when a user clicks this cross, the X button, the pop-up window is closing or not. Pop-up insert, add new record. Let's open the pop-up window, close. See, add new record, close. Now let's do some changes here. The title of the modal pop-up will change to add new employee, and after the button control, here is the body. Here it goes a table with a border is equals to 1, and tr td employee name, second td, which is the input type, is equals to text element, another tr for the email, which we have to add the td's email, and the next td is the input element, input type is equals to text. Let's close this one, and the last one is for the salary. We require td's salary, and next td is the input type is equals to text. Let's add some placeholders here. Placeholder is equals to employee name, and here also placeholder, email, placeholder, salary, and below that we got the button control. Just type the button control is a submit. We are submitting the data. That's it. Instead of save changes, we'll add insert employee, which is the button name. Now let's check the output, how it looks, the designing part. Run this application. Pop-up insert, add new record. So here we got the add new employee. Below that we got the column names which we have to insert, and below that we got the insert employee button. Let's close this one, switch over to the coding part, stop debugging. Now we need to call the service here, so switch over to the coding part in the Blazor component, void save emp. First here we need to create an object for the emp class. ec is equals to new emp class. Now in the save emp, now in this method I am adding first the column name, emp id column name must be 0 whenever we need to add a new record. So ec.ec, which is the object name of this emp class, ec dot. Notice when I click dot, I got the properties, so I'm selecting the emp id is equals to 0. Then let's call the service dot. Notice here the service is insert record, which is the function name, contains the logic to save records. So select that function name Inside this function I am adding the object EC. Then once the record is inserted successfully, I want to close a pop-up window, so we require pop-up false. We need to hide the modal pop-up window. Now here this EC, what I am doing here in the Blazor applications, we have the edit form. So let's add that edit form modal. The modal I am adding EC, which is the object name of the EMP class. Let's close this edit form. At the end of this button control, so here we'll add this here after the button control, and we require the on valid OS scatter here. On valid submit is equals to, we need to add this function save EMP. So copy that one, and after that we need to bind the data EC dot. So here we got the EMP name, the property names at bind is equals to EC dot email, and the last one at bind is equals to EC dot salary. That's it, we have done the complete coding part. Now it's time to check the results on the browser. I'm running this application, and here we got the final output. Let's click the pop insert. Here we got the Blazor component of this EMP insert. Click add new record. We got the pop-up window. Let's enter the new employee details, Charan at gmail.com, and the salary is I'm adding 5,000. Now before insert this record, first let's check in our database table. This employee table contains, let's execute this statement. Right now this employee table contains 0 rows. Let's insert, click insert employee. Oops, here no service of type. Oh, this error, we need to register this service here. Open startup.cs file, and the services, configure services, we need to add the services. So first, this entity framework is already here, so we don't require. Using modal popup record dot services, so we need to add our services dot add scope, and the scope I'm adding my EMP service, the class name, EMP service, the class name. That's it. We have done the complete coding part. Now let's check the final results. Now here we got the final output. Click pop-up insert. It will redirect to the new Blazor component, which is the EMP insert. Click add new record. See, it's open a new pop-up window model. Let's enter new employee details, Charan at gmail.com, 5,000. Now before insert this Charan details, the employee Charan details, let's check in our database table again, execute. Right now this employee table contains 0 rows. Let's insert employee. See, the record has been inserted successfully. Let's check in our database table, execute. See, here we got the Charan details. Let's insert another record also, the new record. Here in this video I am not showing any validation part. For that I'll create one new video how to create the validations for the Blazor applications. So here I am adding Ravi at yahoo.com, and the salary is 2,000. Click insert employee. Let's check in our database table, employee, execute. See, here we got the Ravi details. That's it. In this video tutorial, I have explained how to insert records into a database using Bootstrap Modal Popup in ASP.NET Core Blazor application. Thanks for watching.